General quarters, all hands man your battle stations.
Broadcasting live on WNN 1470 AM, 95.3 FM, iHeartRadio, and the World Wide Web. This is Make America Think Again with your Google Blacklisted host, Tom Trento.
Danger, Will Robinson. Danger. No, Will Robinson. Danger.
I think one of the strangest of all consequences to this coronavirus, one of the most bizarre, strangest, maybe not, but one of the most unique consequences to this virus and to this lockdown might just be the millions of high-paid Americans whose absences we've hardly missed, either by the public or by counting much in subsequent economic analysis of damage to the economy. You see, in a sophisticated society under lockdown, here's a question for you. Is it more existentially valuable to know how to fix a toilet, replace a circuit breaker, change a tire, or to be a New York fashion designer, a Hollywood actor, or a corporate merger lawyer? At 9 p.m. when you go downtown in the need of a critical prescription at your pharmacy, are you really all that furious that a law-abiding citizen who has a gun and a concealed permit is also in line? Would you be more relieved that the gun control laws might ensure that his ilk never enters an all-night pharmacy? The absolute amazing Victor Davis Hanson, who is a world-class educator, philosopher, and who has written a wonderful article you need to read called "The Virus is Not Invisible, but It's Exposing Who is Irreplaceable." And whenever we go through crises of this magnitude, whenever you go through chaos in a culture, whenever your bank account is devastated, declining, whenever things are not secure, one of the consequences, and that's Victor Davis Hanson's point of this article, one of the consequences is you really figure out who is important in this world. He goes on to say in this article that if your refrigerator goes out in the midst of this quarantine, you're going to put on a Madonna song, you're going to look for an actor or a lawyer or someone to soothe and comfort you at this time, or are you going to look for, and he calls it St. Michael Ordonez and Raphael Morano, the archangels from Home Depot delivering a new refrigerator and putting it in your house? Who is more important when the chips are really down? Now, if we could pull out of this, and we will, it's a conditional if, it means since we will pull out of this, one of the lessons we need to take with us, because you know what, we're like elastic bands. We get stretched, and we're being stretched right now. We think it's going to break, and then we go back to the way we were. If we could go back to a position that says, you know what, in this past 2 weeks, 6 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it is, I've had an opportunity to think a little more deeply about what's important in life, who's important in life, and where a redirection of my priorities ought to be. Thank you, God, for illuminating my brain, my life, my understanding in these past couple of months. Victor Davis Hanson. You got to read them all the time. Hi, everybody. 1108 Tom Trento. 1109 now. Tom Trento, your host here on the United West, the Trento Show, where we make America think again. And we're going to continue on that. We're going to provide some comfort for you in a variety of ways by giving you good information. Information that has very objective elements to it, telling you the truth, but we'll also give you our spin, our subjective view. Take it or leave it. We usually are right on everything, but that's up to you to figure out. And we want you to tell your friends and neighbors and everyone, even your enemies, whomever, tune in to WWNN 1470 if you got a radio on the dial, AM side 95.3. You can go on iHeartRadio. You download the application. You search for WWNN 1470 South Florida. Boom, it pops up. You hit your phone or wherever, any device you have, and you can listen 11 o'clock East Coast time every single day. We're going to be here with you to the end of infinity and beyond. That's what we're going to be doing. And the title for today's show.
So you don't want to say hi to your peanut gallery anymore?
I'm going to do that. I'm coming to you guys. I'm going to give them the title, tease them a little bit, then go over there. All right? This is the professional approach. The title for today is Nancy Pelosi a capo in la Cosa Nostra, or is she simply a low-life Saul Alinskyite? Alinskyite. Is Nancy Pelosi a capo in la Cosa Nostra, or is she simply a low-life Saul Alinskyite? And here's, for those of you watching, here's Rules for Radicals, Saul Alinsky's book. I'm going to tell you about this. You're not going to believe this. But Nancy is either in the mafioso, if there was such a thing, or she is a student par excellence of a Chicago organizer who happened to have a couple of other disciples from the Chicago area that we'll tell you about in a minute. But now, let me introduce the other part of the Trinity here, the other two parts of the...
we got promoted to Trinity.
Oh, yeah, Trinity, like a three-leaf clover. We have with us from the Midwest, none other than Midwest Dick.
Good morning, Tom. We're here.
Tom, how you doing?
I don't have monitors, so I'm assuming. I don't know what I'm assuming.
Just chill.
I don't know what I'm assuming.
Yeah, he wants everything all in one day.
I don't know
man.
what I'm seeing or what I'm not seeing.
Don't worry about it.
All right. I worry not. And then that's all. Nobody else is here.
Who's the other guy?
What other guy?
The guy with
I can't see any other guy.
With all the wires.
Oh.
The wire man.
Oh, we have J Mark. Is J Mark there?
Yes,
amidst all those wires.
Yes, I am here.
Hey,
yes, I'm here.
I want to tell you guys, I was driving to work this morning. And there's a station I listen to after Brian Craig and Steve Kane go off the air. They're on 1470 AM. Please listen every day, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Brian Craig, Steve Kane, longest running talk show. They called Trump as president in like 2011. I mean, they were the first Trumpsters on board. They hung with him all through it. And Donald Trump needs to give those guys a call because they really were advocates early on. Great show. When they go off the air, I listen to kind of a jazz show. And oh my God, you thought we had a mess yesterday here in our start with this and that, trying to hook up the live stream and all this. They were bouncing all over the place because they had their two jocks in different locations, and they're trying to go on Facebook and I think YouTube Live, and it was feedback and Mary, what are you doing? Come over here. I'm just going,
Been there, done that.
I'm going, okay.
Welcome to Mark's world.
Yeah, I understand how this works.
You mean the Joe Biden show?
Yeah, the Joe
Biden had a problem.
If we can get to Joe Biden today, because I got a lot of Nancy stuff. If we can get to Joe, I think we can. It's sad. It's sad. It's sad what's going on with Joe. And you can watch it now tomorrow. Today's, what is today? Tuesday the 24th, 11:13 in the morning, East Coast time. Tomorrow, you can go to our website, though Mary's probably saying, you guys aren't giving me all the stuff and everything else. But tomorrow, you can go to theunitedwest.org.
Hey, don't rag on Mary.
And she's trying to do her job. We have people off base, too, off site.
Did you say Mary was off base?
Off base, yeah. We have
Wait a
people
minute.
off base. Not Mary. She's on base.
On base.
Mary's back, by the way. I'm
She's
looking over
back
there for
and
a
she's
camera.
on base.
No camera here. One camera here. What's going on? All right. I can adjust and adapt to anything. I'm like an elastic band. All right, you guys, the peanut gallery there, you have anything you want to add before we get going? Or where we got going?
We got lots to cover. We have one camera, so we got to keep Tom looking.
I got to look
That's
right
right.
at that.
Yeah,
Okay.
We've got some new technology, some new wires connected. It is amazing what Mark can do.
We're trying.
Now all we got to do is get that content out to these people. There's all kind of new ways we'll talk about, but One camera.
Does any new ways, Mark, include a $5,000 computer that we need desperately?
Absolutely, 1,000%.
Yeah. So if 5,000 of you,
if this thing works, you have race cars that kind of like go on the Indy 500 and Daytona and everything like that,
right?
And you push them past that, the RPMs like at 9 and like 10. Well, we're at 11 right now.
On the
so we're redlining
equipment,
it, right?
On the existing equipment, we're doing more than we should be, and so that's why the other computer's required.
Beautiful. Okay, let me see if that's working. I'm getting different texts from different people.
Yeah, everything's working apparently.
You got any texts from anybody we need to deal with?
Yeah, we're good.
You have any texts from anybody that we need to deal with?
We're good.
Yeah. Let me say it again.
Yeah.
Remember, we rehearsed this before the show. I said, "Tell me that somebody texted about a certain sign in here."
Oh,
the sign.
I'm sorry. I don't know why I forgot that. Are we promoting Mike Bloomberg now?
Oh, is our audience that stupid to think we would promote Michael Bloomberg? Are they really that stupid?
We need to get a whole collection of Andrew Yang and Amy Klobuchar and all the dead ones.
For those of you looking on the TV here, we have a Michael Bloomberg. If you follow the show, Willie G brought that in a month and a half ago. It was out where he lives in the middle of nowhere. Bloomberg was inundating Florida. But we leave it up because Bloomberg is still inundating Florida with his money to defeat Donald Trump. So that's motivation right there for us to continue our work to fight against billionaires funding the demise and defeat of Donald Trump through none other than our buddy Andrew Gillum's organization, Forward Florida Action. So Michael Bloomberg is on the enemies of the state list, and we're gonna build that list more and more. Maybe we'll have pictures of all the people here in Florida sending money to Florida to flip Florida blue. That's their little tagline, and get those 29 golden electoral votes. And Nancy Pelosi and her Alinskyite methods today and yesterday, trying to bring in voting by mail, registering on the same day, all crazy stuff that the Democrats know they can tweak to get 2 or 3% with this new stimulus package. And we're going to get into some of that. But enemy of the state, Michael Bloomberg, because he's funding an operation to destroy the U.S. Constitution as originally written. All right, whoever's sending us those texts, okay? Okay, that works. Here's the deal. I opened by saying, is Nancy Pelosi a capo head in Cosa, Nostra, our family, little name that some people use for that organization that doesn't exist.
It's a crime organization.
Yeah. Or simply a low-life Saul Alinskyite. Now, a lot of people who follow our work have heard of Saul Alinsky, but some haven't. So I'm going to give you a little primer because the current crop of leftist, Marxist, socialists, whatever you want to call them, they're all under the banner of Marxism, and whether or not they've adopted a socialist view to find their starting point to defeat communism or capitalism, or whether or not they have accelerated to wanting a communist state to defeat capitalism, that's just a matter of degree, not kind. Whenever I say that, it's very important. It's a matter of degree, not kind. They are the same kind. They're just accelerating toward destroying capitalism, removing God from a culture more quickly than someone else, but they're on the same highway. One's going 100 miles an hour, one's going 50 miles an hour. They both are headed in the same direction, and they both intend to get there by running you over. That's the way this works. Well, where did the Alexandria Cortez's, Castro, where did they come from? What do they believe? What do they think? Where does Nancy Pelosi come from? A couple of generations apart, but the same worldview. They think the same exact way. And one of the axioms of life on this show, and this stuff's a little heavy right now, but that's okay. We'll tell some jokes, or want a joke? I'll give you a joke. I got some, and I'll hold the joke.
Hold the joke.
I got some good jokes. They're really pretty good. People send me all kinds of stuff. And,
So if you want to test that Saul Alinsky video, we can do that.
well, you were going to bring him in.
Okay.
Keep sending your stuff to me because I think some of the stuff I just laugh my head off that people, and I got to use that. I got a couple of people that just send me stuff constantly, and they say, we apologize. I say, keep sending it. I'm going through it. I use this stuff. So the way you think determines how you act. You guys in the birdcage over there, you agree, disagree? The way you think determines how you act.
Works every time.
Yeah, it works every time.
If I don't believe God exists, am I going to pray?
Of course not.
Of course not.
Okay. If I don't believe that capitalism works, am I going to move to become a capitalist?
Probably not. I might
Probably
actually
not, no.
move to end it.
No, moved into it, yeah.
So the way you think determines, and we have hours upon hours of courses on this, but for the sake of our show today at 11:20 in the morning, the way you think determines how you act. How does Nancy Pelosi and the cabal that right now is holding up $2.5 trillion that need to get in the hands of small businesses, regular Americans, mothers, single mothers with their kids? Why is Nancy Pelosi holding all of this money up, holding it hostage? Hopefully it'll get resolved today. But the play she did yesterday is illustrative and informative of where Bloomberg is trying to move this state with his money and where all of these people are trying to move this country in the direction of Karl Marx. Now I'll put the pieces together for you. Saul Alinsky wrote a book. He was born in 1909. This book was written in 1971. And this is one of the first editions, if you're looking at the show. Rules for Radicals, Saul D. Alinsky, a pragmatic primer for realistic radicals. I've studied this for 30 years. And the current versions, the reprints, eliminate something that this book has. Gabish? If you try to get a current volume of this, you can, but it has eliminated something.
What did it eliminate?
That
Very
the
important.
original one has. I had to go find an original.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
I had to go find an original
I
of
got an
Saul's
original,
book.
too. I got an original, too.
I paid $70 friggin' dollars for this book. $70 because it was in such demand. And that's 10 or 15 years ago. Now, Saul Alinsky hung out in, I don't know, Chicago. Anybody else hang out in Chicago that we know of that's tried to fundamentally change America?
The fundamental transformer.
Anybody else live there before the fundamental transformer and she was the wife of a president? Hillary was involved with Chicago. So we got an interesting line of current day reformers who live on the Marxist side of the agenda. Saul Alinsky, Hillary Clinton, and Barack Obama. Now, is there any relationship to them? Before we get into that, let's take a look at Saul Alinsky's dedication. You know, when you write a book, you dedicate it to somebody. Well, I'm going to read from the 1971 edition right here. He has a quote from Rabbi Hillel, a very famous Jewish rabbi. Saul Alinsky's Jewish, but he's an atheist. Where there are no men, be thou a man. Where there are no men, be thou a man. Good, bad? Good, bad. You know, I mean,
A wet bird never flies at night. I'm not sure what that means.
Look, if somebody's not stepping up to the plate, step up and be a man.
Okay.
I'm okay with that. Number 2, dedication. Actually, these are quotes from well-known people. The third one is a dedication. The second quote from a well-known person, from Saul Alinsky, says, "Let them call me rebel and welcome. I feel no concern from it, but I should suffer the misery of devils were I to make a whore of my soul." I want to be honest. I'm going to tell you the truth. Thomas Paine. That's Thomas Paine, the philosopher, educator, writer during the Revolutionary War. Wrote...
what kind of war?
the Revolutionary
Oh, is that a
War.
keyword
Yeah,
later
yeah,
on?
He was in a Revolutionary War. He wrote a little booklet. In those days, you had a blog. In these days, you have a blog. Back then, you had to write a booklet, have it printed, which was very difficult, and hand it out to people. He wrote a little booklet called Common Sense
Right.
that actually was used Christmas Eve, 1775, I believe it was, and on the banks of Trenton, New Jersey, not far from where I grew up, as George Washington had one last shot at defeating the Brits. He was going to go attack the Hessians, the German mercenaries, and we know that story. He defeated them and all of that. But our attention today, kiddies, is to the dedication that Saul Alinsky has in his book and the world that he has paved, worldview, for Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and now Nancy Pelosi. And here's the dedication. Lest we forget an over-the-shoulder acknowledgement to the very first radical.
You could read it right in the back, too, Tom. On your screen in the back.
On the screen in the back.
In the back.
Oh, there it is right there, folks. Follow along with me. The magic of television. Lest we forget at least, there it is. Lest we forget at least an over-the-shoulder acknowledgement to the very first radical from all our legends, mythologies, and histories. And who is to know where mythology leaves off and history begins, or which is which? Well, the first radical known to man who rebelled against the establishment and did it so effectively that he at least won his own kingdom.
Lucifer. Wow. Are you kidding?
Lucifer?
Are you kidding me? That Lucifer?
That Lucifer? Is Saul Alinsky acknowledging Satan's role in the universe?
There is no God. There is no good God. There's no righteous God. But he's dedicating his entire book, his entire movement to the evil Lucifer.
To Lucifer, the devil, as the first radical. So he points to that. Look, Saul thought he was the smartest guy on the planet. So he plays with people, but it goes beyond that. Is he a Satanist or not? That remains to be seen by historians. But he certainly acknowledged in the 1971 initial edition of this book an acknowledgement to Lucifer. So now, continuing with Alinsky, because we're laying the groundwork for what Nancy Pelosi is doing with your money right now, ladies and gentlemen. Mark, you got a little video of our buddy Saul so people could hear him and see him for a minute or so?
Ready?
All right, check this out, folks.
His name is Saul Alinsky, and there are still many to whom the name is meaningless. But to millions now, he is looked on as a savior, and these are the so-called have-nots, the culturally deprived, the abject poor. They love him, and they ask him in to organize their weakness into a strength and power that has become a frightening threat to the establishment.
I suppose, given a choice, I think I would pick hell. The reason I picked hell is because that's where all the have-nots are.
He is disarmingly mild when you meet him.
Yeah, that's.
But there is an implacable ferocity about him which is directed at many forces he considers to be at the root of human suffering and misery.
Use hell.
I'm awful.
He said he's being interviewed. It's a 25-minute documentary on his life. That's fascinating. He's being interviewed, Saul Alinsky is. And for those of you tuning in at the bottom of the hour here, 11:28 in the morning, East Coast time, Tom Trento, your host. We're streaming to just a couple of people to see if all this stuff works. So you can text Mark and Dick, everything, whatever is working or not working. And we're at WNN 1470, 95.3. The big idea right now is try to figure out why Nancy Pelosi did what she did yesterday in the United States Congress to block the money going to you, knowing full well it wasn't going to happen, but laying the groundwork for more of her revolution through utilizing the principles of Saul Alinsky. That's what we're drawing together here. We're going to stitch this together to let you see the forces that are moving against Donald Trump and constitutional conservatives.
In the middle of a crisis.
In the middle of a crisis. What did Rahm Emanuel, what was his job?
Yeah, Rahm.
Dead Fish Rom.
Rahm was the
Chicago.
chief of staff to Barack Obama, Chicago boy. Then he became the mayor.
Chicago.
And his famous little adage was, never let a crisis go,
Never waste,
unattended?
yeah,
never waste a
crisis.
never waste a crisis. It sounds like Nancy is of the same mind.
So you hear Saul Alinsky in his own words saying, I'd rather, the guy said, would you rather choose heaven or hell? I'd rather choose hell because that's where the have-nots are. This whole book is the battle between the haves and the have-nots. Now, where did we hear that before? Somewhere 1,000 times on this show. That's Karl Marx's groundwork for class struggle, class warfare, the haves and the have-nots.
Victims.
Saul Alinsky comes right out of that model. But what does Saul Alinsky have to do with Nancy Pelosi? Watch the chain of progression here, the chain of evidence, the custody of ideas moving in a progressive way. In 1969, a young lady in Chicago wrote, going into Chicago, she was up in the Northeast, wrote her thesis to graduate from Wesley. And she wrote her thesis, a 92-page senior thesis for the Wesley College on none other than Saul Alinsky. And that young lady in 1969 at Wesley was whom?
Whom? That would have been the president of the United States, except for Donald Trump. That's who.
That would have been the president of the United States, except for 112,000 votes in Florida in 2016. Hillary Clinton wrote her master's thesis, her college thesis, on Saul Alinsky, entitled "There Is Only the Fight: An Analysis of the Alinsky Model." And she then went on to interview him several times, and she became a student who met him of the Alinsky model. And the Alinsky model is simply how to move a society from a capitalist-based society to a communal society. Now, what are the Clintons worth? A couple $100 million?
Oh, they're definitely.
What happened to that?
What happened there?
Yeah, what happened there? A couple $100 million?
And they're collecting dollars from all the other capitalists around the world who want to get into their pot of money and solution.
So in 1969, when Hillary's, 22, 23, 24 years old, she's a wide-eyed leftist liberal, just like Bill the hippie, the whole thing, pot-smoking crazy people. But now, in her mid-70s, she's a hardcore capitalist, but still wanting to change the world so the have-nots can get what the haves have, okay? Following years later, another guy in Chicago becomes a community organizer in Chicago, and guess what he studies?
Let me take a guess. Saul Alinsky.
Obama received a comprehensive course in Saul Alinsky during his years as a community organizer in Chicago, an experience Obama recalled as the best education he ever had. So what the heck is this book right here that's so valuable to leftist organizers? Now, would we put Nancy Pelosi in the context of a leftist organizer?
Yes.
All right, there's 13 basic principles that Saul Alinsky utilizes to teach a realistic radical how to change the culture, how to change society. 11:33 in the morning. Tom Trento giving you an overview of Saul Alinsky. Why are we doing that? We're making a connection between his Marxist teaching and the progression of a leftist ideology through Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, all the way through Nancy Pelosi, because number 8 of the 13 rules for radicals says, keep the pressure on. Never let up. Keep trying new things to keep the opposition off balance. As the opposition masters one approach, hit them from the flank with something new. Now you got that? Midwest Dick, translate that to common speak for the folks, please.
Well, I think it's leaning on terrible situations, and in your solution, one of the ways to keep the pressure on is to just stuff a lot of other issues related to the revolution. I mean, there's a famous sentence that says the issue is not the issue is the revolution. So no matter what you're dealing with, even if it's saving human lives, you're going to try to get your collective agenda into the program. The pressure would be the Senate is under pressure to do something. She shows up with a massive document in the middle of the urgency. People are concerned about individual lives. She's concerned about the collective movement.
Yeah, that is exactly right, folks. This is very, very, very important. Look, we do edutainment here, and we goof around a bit and entertain, and that's good. We need to do that. But right now, we're laying out some very hardcore information that. Oh, I got another camera. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. I'm going to grow this beard until
we get it right.
Until the world until I can go to the beach. Okay. No, I'll shave it off by Monday when we really.
Why don't we do a show at the beach?
Yeah, that'd be. We can now with these little cameras we have. These magic. Is that really working?
Yes.
I don't know. I have to trust you guys. No. I would not know.
You are in places you don't even know where you are.
Okay.
You don't know who's watching that.
I can do this. What were we talking about? Nancy
Pelosi.
Oh,
never waste a crisis.
Right. The here's how all of this affects each one of you listening. I was saying we like to kid around and use ridicule and sarcasm and fun to make a point. We're always making a point. Very serious show, but this is heavy stuff. Right now, we're more on heavy stuff because of the urgency of the moment. Here's what it is. We need money here at the United West. Our donors are hurting. The donations aren't coming in like they normally do. So if anyone can step up, please go to theunitedwest.org and help out. This is a very critical time for all Americans. We understand. Well, the president, in fact, most of the leaders in the country in both houses recognize the importance of doing something, want to do it. So the fast track to getting money in the hands of the everyday citizen. You can't just say, print up money, send it out. We have three branches of government. They have to interface. You have to follow the rule of law. The quickest way to get money to you, every one of you listening or watching, you need money right now. You're thinking, man, at the end of the month, how am I going to pay my rent, my bills, all of that stuff, my car payment, I'm down. You need money. President Trump wants to get you money. So you go to the United States Senate. That's the upper chamber. These are the people that are supposed to be more resolved, more experienced, wiser than the citizen legislator who every 2 years has to get reelected, can be moved around. The idea of the framers and the founders was we have on one side the wise adults, and on the other side the children, telling us what needs to be done. And in that combative atmosphere, collegial combative, because everybody had a Judeo-Christian worldview, we all agreed basically the same policies, but different ways of getting there. It's like churches, they fight over whether you should baptize by immersion, dipping somebody under the water, or by sprinkling. So they fought, they both agree in baptism, they fought, and then one became the Baptists and one became the Presbyterians. So they're still the same team, but different approaches to getting there. That's how this government used to be, because both bodies had the Judeo-Christian worldview at their basis. No longer true. Democrats have abandoned that. So the idea is you go to the Senate, you get the bill passed, it'll go over to the House, and the House will say, the adults pass this, we'll pass it too, to expedite, to speed the money into the hands of everyday Americans. Well, it was in the Senate. It was almost passed, $2.5 billion. And Pelosi reaches out to whom? The New York senior senator. Yeah, you're not on. She reaches out to, this is 2 days ago, almost passed. Yesterday, Pelosi reaches out to Chuck Schumer and says, basically said, the president's going to have a win here. I'm guessing what she said behind the scenes. He's going to have a massive win. Joe Biden is dead. We don't know where he is. We don't know what he's doing. He doesn't, whenever he shows up on anything, he's catatonic. We are dead unless we can do something. Saul Alinskyite, keep the pressure on, hit him from a different flank. So she tells Schumer, you got to kill this thing. I got a bill ready to go. How do you have a 1,200-page bill ready to go with so much nonsense that she had in 2 days? Where'd that come from?
That's the same as somebody showing up with the Obamacare bill, which was 3,000 pages, had been in the works for decades. It's the same. They're basically pushing the revolution. They're always ready with all of the written material when they need it.
She had everything ready to go, all of the leftist policies she wanted, and she figures, Chuck, Trump has to pass this. That clown has to pass this. If we could position him as Saul Alinsky lays out to stigmatize and target, if we could stigmatize and target him so that he appears to the people as the obstructionist, the guy standing in the way of the checks, we'll win this. We will be the heroes delivering the money. So she tells Chuck, pull that, come up with some BS reason to pull that Senate bill. And he comes up with, there's not enough oversight, as a half a $500 million is going to help various companies dependent on their various needs. And there's a million checks and balances in all of this. But he says there's not enough oversight on that. An absolutely bogus reason for stopping a bill that would have had today the money moving into the hands of Americans. Every day is critical. So Chuck says, what are we going to do? We're going to look like idiots if I stop this thing. And the president goes, what are you guys doing? She goes, I got a bill ready to go. I got a 1,200-page bill ready to go. Where did that thing come from? Were they writing voraciously in the middle of the night for the past 5 days and came up with all these things? And if you look at the bill, it's got federal citations every other line. This thing takes months to put together.
1,400 pages.
1,400-page bill.
War and Peace is 1,200 pages.
So she tells Chuck, hey, kill the thing. I got a bill. I'll offer it. And he does it. He kills it. She offers her bill yesterday. And oh my word, the conservative world went nuts. We're going to read some of what is in Nancy's bill to get money in your hands in the COVID-19 coronavirus crisis.
Hold on, Tom. We have breaking news. Playboy magazine is closing down, probably for good cause of coronavirus.
Whoa.
Seriously, right? Playboy has announced that during its flagship magazine for the rest of the 2020 season. So all you people who are trapped at home with nothing to do, you just lost your Playboy magazine too.
Yeah, and all of you with 99-year subscriptions, I think that's they must have some sort of business insurance or something. And it's like, let's pull the plug on it now because that magazine was dying, I bet you.
Way to get attention. It's a way to get attention.
Yeah, they get a little attention. Yeah.
But that is a travesty for a lot of people.
Now, they should have reached out to Nancy to do an 80-year-old. She's 80 years old, like this month. To do like an 80-year-old centerfold or something.
No, Tom, no.
Last dying effort.
The death of Playboy.
All right, so here's the picture, ladies and gentlemen. It's 11:42 in the morning. Very, very, very important to understand this. Why? Because in 224 days, you have to go to vote, and you're going to go to vote. Rest assured, you're going to vote. And, if the elderly people can't get there, absentee ballots, and there's a legitimate way that happens, maybe that'll be the case. It's November. This thing should be cleared up by then. But you're going to vote. What happens today will determine how you vote. When you look at the inside game by Nancy and the cabal and the Alinskyite, you're going to see a deplorable party that is exploiting poor women and children. If there's a father and a mother and they're middle class and they have a little bit of savings or they can borrow some money, they can make it a month or 2 or 3 months. There are many, many, many people working in restaurants and all of that live week to week, month to month. Every day this money's held up. So Nancy does this gambit. I'll put my bill there. We'll have to pass it. Well, here's what's in her bill. And the end of the story is their bill was so offensive, so morally offensive that even Democrats said, Nancy, this is crazy. This is completely crazy. And right now there's emergency meetings going on in the Senate to resolve one little issue to bring the original Senate bill out. But it reveals Nancy's play. Here's what Nancy put in: a bill to immediately get money in the hands of people because of the coronavirus. Number one, if we bail out or send money to an airlines, and all of them are hurting, as we know, so every airlines is going to get money. Then by 2025, 2035, and 2050, there has to be reductions in the carbon emissions from the airplanes. In the next 5 years, 10 years, to the point of 50% reduction over the next 20 years or so. So 5-10% every year. The airlines industry has to fly electric airplanes or something. The combustion engine, the turbine engines, have to be done away with. This is the Green Deal that she's trying to get in. Now, who pushed her so much? We used her name earlier in the show. Who pushed her so much on the Green Deal?
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
You are watching, ladies and gentlemen, a dilapidated 80-year-old woman, Nancy Pelosi, who I'm sure when you're 80 years old and you're strung together as she is with her teeth and everything else, you start to get a sense of mortality. When she started back in the U.S. Congress during William Taft, I think he was the president. When she started back then, or was it Jefferson? One of those guys was the president. When she started, she was a young buck. She was her father was the mayor of I can't hear you.
You got to turn your volume
Wasn't
up.
she a Miss something or other? She actually had a minor B-League beauty contest
in Baltimore. Her father was the mayor of Baltimore.
Right.
She was Miss Chevron or Miss, Cooper Tire, something like that. It had an automobile-related deal. Now, she's Italian. I think she's Sicilian, too. I like her at that level, but she's deplorable.
Her father was a crook.
Yeah. But she's sensing mortality. She's sensing that she doesn't have many years left to live, and she certainly doesn't have many years left to legislate, because she wants to have a couple of years to sit out in her Napa vineyard where our friend Laura Loomer jumped over the fence and had a bunch of Mexicans living there for a few hours. When you are in this existential dilemma where you know you got limited time, you want to accelerate that which you believe. Remember, the way you think is the way you live. You want to accelerate your political philosophy. And all she did was adopt Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's leftist philosophy, and she's channeling her now. And one of the first items that is ingrained in this bill is to cut the airline industry in half. That's there. It gets worse. She wants to have same-day voter registration, early voting, voting by mail, and ballot harvesting. Anybody know anything about politics?
Ballot harvesting?
Yeah, where people can go around and collect the ballots from different places where you vote. You bring them all together. Every one of these is wide open for fraud.
Right.
That is after the fact. By the time you figure it out, the guy's already the president. Then what do you do?
So would you use illegal aliens to harvest, like you do agriculture, harvest the ballots?
Very, 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 very possible. So she has a whole section. Now, she just wrote this up in a day. This stuff is what's called...
She stayed up all night.
This is
all night doing that.
Yeah,
she shows on her face.
This is called off-the-shelf legislation. They have on their shelves in the old days actual books where laws are written, where they look for a project that the other side... Republicans do this to a degree, but nothing as nefarious as this at this time, where you look for a bill that everybody has to pass, and you know you got the votes, and she knows she has the votes in the House, so you stick, it's called pork, your pork barrel, your excess junk on there, and the Republicans hold their nose and vote it because they got to get the other stuff into circulation. That's what she's trying. It goes further than that. She wants money for Planned Parenthood, a ton of money for Planned Parenthood, and we all know what that's all about. She wants $35 million for the JFK Center for Performing Arts in Washington, D.C. Where does that come from? You know where that comes from? There are lobbyists. Anybody know what a lobbyist is? A lobbyist is a crook, basically, a legitimate crook. In the world of lobbying, there's a legitimate basis for it, but most of the lobbyists, greed goes to them on both sides of the aisle. And right now, you have lobbyists who are salivating, knowing that Nancy will do their bidding because they support her, they drive money in for her. And I'm sure there's lobbyists connected to the JFK Center for Performing Arts. And she stuck in $35 million for them to protect them from the coronavirus.
Tom, you're screwing this up. She didn't want anybody to read the bill until it was passed.
Oh,
Remember?
I forgot about
That's her
that.
message.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that was another part of it. So on and on and on, all these absolutely ridiculous components. What are some others? You know any of the others, Dick? I had so many.
No, actually, I don't. I just saw that email message this morning. I think you can assume it is basically the platform. It's the most of the platform of the Democratic Party trying to shove it in. Again, the issue of our safety, our economic isn't important. It's the revolution that's important.
The revolution is important, and we get back to Saul Alinsky and pragmatic primer for realistic radicals to do what? For a revolution, a cultural revolution.
My question, I guess, is if Nancy can tell Chuck what to do, Nancy can tell Schumer what to do. I think when we look at these, there are people, Biden is going to pick a woman. He's got all these younger women who do not look like Nancy or act feeble like her, but these women are basically Nancy. So when you think about the women that Joe Biden's going to put as the vice president, think about Nancy Pelosi. The ghost of Nancy Pelosi will be on the ballot with Joe. And if Joe wins and he doesn't make it to the finish line, the ghost of Nancy Pelosi, one of these women, will be basically running the country if Joe is elected.
All right, you use the term Joe there like 100 times. Where is Joe? Anybody know where Joe is? What does he have to do with all of this stuff? The next president, from their point of view.
Well, clearly he's letting the other people speak. The other people take the ball, and I think that's probably the way the rest of the campaign is going to go. He'll be up for 5 or 10 minutes, and then he'll bring on another person to speak and articulate the position. Remember, all these Democrats that were running and were in the primaries just a few weeks ago, they're all still out there, and their messages are Saul Alinsky's messages. So we're really looking at the party of Lucifer, whether it's Nancy.
The party of Lucifer.
Yeah, these are the devil's disciples.
Definitely.
Do you have, Mark, stunned teleprompter video?
Yes.
All right, we're going to set this up for you folks. Now, the big idea here is Nancy Pelosi a CAPO in la Cosa Nostra or simply a low-life Saul Alinskyite? And I think we've concluded low-life Saul Alinskyite. That's for sure. And our plea, go to armyfortrump.com, armyfortrump.com, armyfortrump.com. What a great time to volunteer for the armyfortrump.com from your home.
It's a great time to do it. That website lays out very specific actions you can take.
Yes,
it's definitely a place to go while you're sitting at home with not doing a particular thing. Get involved with the Army for Trump.
And you could spend an hour or 2 hours a day on Army for Trump. They have a million ways in which, from the quietness of your quarantined safe harbor, you can participate in fighting against Nancy and Hillary and Barack and Chuck and all the rest.
Tomorrow's Wednesday.
Now,
are we going to have a GOP person tomorrow?
Yeah. Now,
camera 3 way over there.
Where the roll of tape is on a ladder.
Cam 3.
I got to take a picture of that. I got to show these people a picture of that. Mark has a camera on a step ladder with a roll of duct tape holding it up. I better not move in here.
Duct tape productions, man.
So do we have a 3-camera shoot right now?
Yes, we do.
My word.
It's interesting. They emerged during the show.
They emerged during the
show.
emerge.
This is live.
We have a couple of guys downstairs. They can walk around. We can do one of these things.
Actually, we can.
Yeah. Hey, we're getting there, ladies and gentlemen, at 11:53. But here's the big idea for all of you Republicans who are listening, for all of you independents trying to figure out what you're going to do. Come on. I mean, we have serious people trying to fix this country, And then we have political radicals trying to implement a complete utopian view, getting the whole Green Deal in there, a complete utopian view that has failed every single time and moved the country from a capitalist country to a Marxist country. And we know, I've said it a million times, only a strong economy like ours can withstand this devastation. We can't withstand it forever, but we're capable now of putting money in the hands of people. So as you consider who to vote for and who to work for, look at both sides. And today we're revealing an individual, Nancy Pelosi, who is illustrative of the whole leftist movement that is against Americans and for their political philosophy, because they have this sense of they're going to die out and they want to leave their legend, leave their mark. Their leader, they hope, is the guy we're going to show you right now, who is trying to be actualized, trying to be relevant as Donald Trump just inundates the airwaves with handling this crisis. Here's poor Joe. Watch this.
We need to activate the reserve corps of doctors and nurses and beef up the number of responders dealing with these crush of cases. And in addition to that, we have to make sure that we are in a position that we are. Well, let me go to the second thing. I've spoken enough of that. The president must use the Defense Production Act to radically increase the supply of critical goods needed to treat patients and protect our healthcare workers and first responders.
I missed what he said.
He's trying to do the Defense Protection Act or something like that.
No, but he had 2 points, I think. Yeah, he had 2 points, and he's obviously reading a teleprompter. Okay, you have a teleprompter? Do you have any idea what you're talking about? Or did you just see these words for the first time? We've used teleprompters here on occasion. And if I use it for facts or figures, I kind of know what I'm talking about. And if the prompter goes down, I can do something. Here's the guy who wants to be the leader, and he's positioning himself as a shadow to the president, which means when the president does a press conference, he's going to appear live stream to respond, just like the State of the Union, the response on the other side. He starts reading the prompter, and obviously the prompter stopped. How much, what do these guys need to get this thing right,
This is like half dead.
This is a dead stream. He's doing a dead stream. And look, we have problems here at times, but we're a little Mickey Mouse little thing.
We're like warp drive ahead of him, doing multiple camera shoots, bringing in video feeds and bringing in everything else, and it's crazy.
You got to watch it, folks. Come watch our show tomorrow. Go to United West. The prompter obviously is going down. He's got his right hand. For those of you watching me right now, he's going, come on, the prompter. And then he goes, and he's trying to talk at the same time. Yeah. Obviously, can't do two things.
That's right. He was waving at the prompter.
And then, you know what? I talked about that enough. Let's go to the second point. Oh my God! You want this guy leading you? No, you don't. You really don't.
Well, he would just be a puppet anyway. The Pelosi vice president woman will be telling him what to do, and then basically stepping into the chair at the right time.
If we can see the marionette strings, you'd have Joe Biden, and the strings would be going up to Nancy Pelosi, and above her in the ceiling of the theater would be Alexandria Cortez and her squad, all pulling on Nancy, who's pulling on Joe.
If you go high enough, there might be even Lucifer.
Lucifer's at the top of that. And on that wonderful note, we're going to bring this show to a close because Saul Alinsky probably knows more about Lucifer than any of us.
He wanted to go to hell. Yeah. Remember? He's there now.
He did. But we don't want this country to go to hell. That's why you got to watch this show, listen to what we say, and go to armyfortrump.com and pray for Amy Klobuchar. Her husband's contracted the virus and struggling a bit. So, he was a healthy guy in his mid-50s. So, pray for him. We'll see you tomorrow, Wednesday. Yes, we will have a person from the Trump campaign calling in right around 11:10. Have a wonderful day, everybody.